Forget the clean off-season summaries for a second. What happened around New England this weekend feels a lot more like a pressure test than some quiet minicamp note. The Patriots are staring hard at tackle depth, looking at another possible weapon for Drake Maye, hearing the loudest WR1 dream get pushed by somebody inside the building, and watching a veteran safety show this defense how to steal possessions. Hit that like button because Foxboro is getting sharper, meaner, and a whole lot less patient. Start with the part nobody should just brush off. Caleb Lomu taking every rookie minicamp snap on the left side is not some emergency siren. It is a teaching rep. It is the staff looking at a first-round tackle in a controlled setting and saying, "All right, show us the foundation first." And yes, a lot of Patriots fans expected him to get right-side work immediately. Morgan Moses is 35. Will Campbell is sitting on the left. The swing tackle math points straight toward versatility. I totally get it. That reaction makes sense. But Foxboro does not owe anybody a public depth chart in May. Greg Byard pushed back on the panic, and honestly, that is the right read here. New England only had 3 offensive tackles on the field. This was not a full offensive line lab with every veteran in place and every future role stamped in ink. Lomu played where the reps were available, where his college background at Utah already gives him comfort, and where the coaches could evaluate his feet, balance, hands, and processing without turning day 2 of rookie minicamp into a social media trial. But this is where the story gets tougher in a good way. Demetrius Crownover walked into that right tackle spot looking like a player the Patriots may have landed later than they had any business landing him. Byard called him one big human being, and that is not just radio talk. This is a 6'7", 320-pound tackle with an 86-inch wingspan, arms that measured 35.75 inches at Texas A&M's Pro Day, and a background that includes time at tight end. That matters. That makes people lean forward. Crownover is older than Lomu. He turns 25 in September. That can scare some teams in draft rooms, but for New England, it might actually work in his favor. This is not a raw teenager still trying to figure out his frame. This is a grown blocker, a right-side specialist from the SEC, and a player who gave up only 3 sacks and 7 quarterback hits across his college career. Were there pressures in 2025? Yes. That is probably part of why he lasted into day 3. But when the profile is that massive, that athletic, and that experienced, you do not just shrug and move on. The Patriots are building protection for Drake Maye with bodies that look like they belong in a street fight. Lomu is the premium investment. Crownover is the uncomfortable problem for the back end of the roster. And if he keeps moving the way Byard saw on Saturday, somebody in that tackle room is going to feel the heat before training camp even gets nasty. And while the tackle room is being built with size and violence, the offense still has another question sitting right in the middle of the field. Who is going to make Drake Maye's life easier when the first read is covered, the pocket gets tight, and the defense thinks it can muddy the picture? That is why Darren Waller's name hits differently. This is not about replacing Hunter Henry. Henry has earned trust. He is steady, smart, dependable, and exactly the kind of tight end a young quarterback can lean on. But one dependable tight end is not the same thing as a layered passing attack. After Henry, New England has Eli Raridun, C.J. Dippre, Julian Hill, and Tanner Arkin. There is youth there. There is developmental value there. But there is not a proven NFL pass-catching threat who forces a defensive coordinator to spend real time on him during the week. That is where Waller becomes dangerous as an idea. Not because he is still the Raiders version who looked like a mismatch nightmare every single Sunday. That is not the pitch anymore. The pitch is simpler. Can he still give you size, veteran feel, middle-of-the-field stress, red zone presence, and enough juice to punish linebackers who cannot carry him cleanly? If the answer is even partly yes, the Patriots should be aggressive enough to look into it. Picture the personnel. Hunter Henry attached, Darren Waller flexed out, Drake Maye at the line with the defense stuck between heavier run fits and coverage problems. Do you stay big and risk Waller working against a linebacker? Do you go lighter and invite New England to run behind this bigger offensive line they are clearly trying to build? That is how an offense starts winning before the snap. That is how a young quarterback stops feeling like every third down has to be heroic. And look, the risk is obvious. Waller has dealt with health issues. He is not a clean, guaranteed answer. Nobody should pretend he walks in and magically fixes everything. But that is not the real question. The question is whether a short, cheap, low-risk swing gives Maye another adult in the room. Another target with real history, another body who can win in the exact area where young quarterbacks need comfort. If New England is serious about speeding up Maye's growth, this kind of move belongs on the board. Not desperate, not flashy just for noise, calculated, tough, useful. The Patriots have spent too many seasons asking quarterbacks to make ordinary pieces look special. Maybe it is finally time to start giving the quarterback pieces that actually make the game feel smaller. Now the offense conversation stops being theoretical because Kevin Byard just poured fuel on the one name Patriots fans cannot leave alone: A.J. Brown. And the reason this quote matters is not just friendship, it is history. Byard knows Brown. He played with him in Tennessee. He shared a locker room with him in Philadelphia. They trained together in the offseason. And both of them know Mike Vrabel's world from the inside. So when Byard says he hopes it can work out and hopes Brown can come here and play for New England, that is not random fan chatter. That is a respected veteran inside the Patriots building looking at a true #1 receiver and basically saying, yes, bring that problem to our sideline. And I love that Byard did not try to dance around the talent. He called Brown a true #1 receiver in this league. That phrase should hit every Patriots fan right in the chest, because we have watched this team spend years searching for that exact thing. Not a nice piece, not a maybe, not a receiver you have to talk yourself into. A true #1, a player who changes the gravity of the offense the second he walks into the huddle. Byard even went back to the moment he knew Brown was different. That rookie season game against Atlanta in 2019, when Brown put up 94 yards and 2 touchdowns, including that slant he took to the house. That is the image, not a fragile possession target, not a system product. A.J. Brown catches the ball in traffic and suddenly the whole field feels like it is in danger. Drake Maye needs that kind of power at wide receiver. He needs someone who can turn an ordinary throw into a defensive emergency. And yes, Romeo Doubs has already shown he understands the size of the possible move here. If Brown walks through that door, everybody in the receiver room gets pushed into a more honest role. That is not disrespect, that is team building. Doubs becomes more dangerous. Demario Douglas gets cleaner space. The tight ends benefit. The run game benefits because safeties have to think twice before crashing downhill. The cap timing around June 1 is part of why this story keeps breathing, and another receiver-needy team could absolutely jump in if Philadelphia does not like New England's offer. That is exactly why the Patriots cannot treat this like casual window shopping. If the Eagles listen, New England has to be bold, disciplined, and ready. So I want the comments to get loud on this one. Would you put real draft capital on the table for A.J. Brown if it means giving Drake Maye the alpha weapon this franchise has been missing? Because if Byard is saying it publicly, you better believe that locker room already understands exactly what that move would mean. And after all that offensive noise, do not lose sight of what may be happening on the other side of the ball. Kevin Byard is not just arriving in New England to wear a jersey and cash veteran checks. He is walking into that safety room with a reputation, with 36 career interceptions, with a league-leading 7 picks last season, and with the kind of football brain that can change how a young defensive back sees the entire field. That matters for Craig Woodson. Woodson already forced his way into the conversation as a rookie. A 4th-round pick is not supposed to casually climb past names like Jabril Peppers and Kyle Duggar and grab a starting safety spot. That is not normal. That is a player earning trust the hard way. He tackled. He played with edge. He showed he could survive meaningful snaps. And now Byard is watching the film, looking at the habits, and saying the kid is talented, smart, mature, and serious about his business. Coming from Byard, that is not empty praise. That is a veteran ball hawk recognizing something worth sharpening. The next jump for Woodson is obvious. Takeaways. He had 1 interception as a rookie, and it came in the AFC divisional win over Houston, so the moment was not too big for him. But if this defense wants to become more than tough, if it wants to become feared again, the secondary has to steal possessions. Tackling keeps you alive. Interceptions change games. They flip field position. They break quarterbacks mentally. They hand Drake Maye shorter fields. They make the whole building feel different. Byard explained the secret, and it was not some mystical veteran speech. Anticipation, film study, route concepts, understanding what the offense is trying to do before the quarterback admits it with his eyes. That is the real safety education Woodson is getting now. It is learning where the play is supposed to go, where the bait is, where the quarterback wants the window, and when to trust your ability and go take the ball. That is why this pairing has real force. Byard is replacing Jalen Hawkins, who led the Patriots in interceptions last season before going to Baltimore, and he brings a different kind of standard. Woodson brings youth, tackling, hunger, and room to explode. Put those two together under a Vrabel defense, and suddenly this safety room is not just about cleaning up mistakes. It is about creating damage. The Patriots need more than effort. They need playmakers on the back end. And if Byard can help Woodson turn good positioning into real turnovers, New England's defense could start stealing games instead of merely surviving them. Put all of this together and the message is not quiet anymore. The Patriots are not just collecting names, they are testing the edges of the roster, building a heavier wall for Drake Maye, studying veteran weapons who can change matchups, letting leaders recruit ambition out loud, and giving young defenders a masterclass in how to take the ball away. That is how a rebuild starts to get serious. Not with one headline, with pressure from every corner of the building. Subscribe to the channel, stay locked in, and do not blink, because Foxborough is starting to feel dangerous again.